I'm going to show how to use competencies in Moodle in this plain new installation of Moodle. There is nothing here except for one test course, having nothing except for two participants. That is Ole, who is the student, and admin, who is the teacher. So the first step I had to do is to go to the site administration here and to the competency settings. I had to make sure that those two settings here are enabled in order to make competencies working in Moodle. Then I had to go to the site administration, to competencies here, and to competency frameworks here. I had to create competency frameworks who's having the competencies in it. I can create a number of competency frameworks in Moodle. We are going to introduce three very general learning competencies in this presentation. That is knowledge, skills, and attitude competencies. Those three competencies are very basic and can be applied in all learning processes, both in e-learning context as well as in classroom settings. We are presenting these three learning competencies in three competency frameworks in Moodle, each having three levels of quality assurance of those competencies in the learning process. These three competency frameworks can be applied in any courseware, in addition to more subject-specific competence demands and grades. This can also be used as a certification utility for specific purposes. The basic level of knowledge competence is the reproduce competence. Here, the students show an ability to reproduce what the teacher has told and explained to him. When the student has done that, he validates the reproduced stuff by applying it. For example, in exercises or other kinds of training works given to him by the teacher. When that is done, the student can go even further to even higher level of knowledge competency by do assessment of what he has done so far. By doing a judgment and evaluation of his work, he can go on further in his knowledge achievement in the base of his lower level competency. The basic level of skill competency is to understand how, for example, a device works. Skills is a main attribute in all craftsman's works. So the skill competency start to understand the nature of the subject the student is going into. When that is done, he can imitate what he has understood, for example in making his own copy of a craft design presented to him earlier by his teacher. When he has done that, he can enter the highest level of skill competency by develop his own craft or device on the base of what he has done earlier. At this level, he assures his skilled competency in the best way. Attitude competency is also very important in the learning process. The student has to be motivated to do his study. That starts with the basic competency of showing willingness to receive knowledge and skills in order to achieve his goals. He also has to appreciate what he has received. Then he gets into the next level of attitude competence. The highest level of attitude competency he will achieve by showing willingness to integrate his learned stuff in his daily and professional life. So here we have three very general competency goals we like to train the student into. This can be used in all learning processes to ensure proper learning activities. We call this competency model for Learning Ladder Competency. In each of these three frameworks, the students, so to speak, climb a learning process ladder to achieve the best confirmed competencies in the courses he attends to. We will now show you how to implement this in Moodle. Moodle is a great learning management system to take care of this. Here I had to write the name of the competency framework I'm going to use, and that's Knowledge now. I will not give a description here to do it easy, but I have to give an identification number here, and I give it a number 1. Here I had to choose what kind of scale I'm going to use. I'm going to use a default scale, and that has 2 options: competent or not yet competent. In the case of automatic assignment of competency, I have to choose here what kind of default value is going to be given, and I use competent as the default value. I also have to choose what's going to happen with the proficient value here, and that also will be enabled here. In this case, I could have activating the proficient here also, because I like to show the student that he is on his good way to be competent, even if he's not yet competent. So say this one. I'm not going to use those levels here, so I save this framework as it is now. Here I have created the competency framework Knowledge, but there are no competencies in it yet. So I have to activate this competency framework by clicking it here, and then I'm able to add some competencies in it by pressing this button here. So pressing this button, I can add the first basic competency, and that is the ability to reproduce stuff given of the student given by the teacher. So reproduce is going to be written here. I leave out the description in this presentation, but I have to give an identification number here also. So I give it a number 1.1, and that's going to be saved. So now we have this competency framework of Knowledge here with 1 competency, and that is reproduce. That's the basic level of competency of this framework. So when that is done, when a student has achieved that, he can add another competency level of competency about knowledge. I can do that by pressing this button here, and then the next level is apply. So I write it here as the name of the competency. No description in this presentation, but the identification number had to be given, and I give it number 1.2 here. So then it will be saved. So now we have this competency framework with 2 competencies in it: reproduce and apply. Apply is a more high level of competency. There the student can apply the stuff reproduced earlier in exercises and other training given by the teacher. After that, the student can enter an even higher competency level, and that is assessment. That is, he can do some judgment or evaluation of what he has done earlier in order to go further in his learning process. So ID number here could be 1.3, and that is going to be saved. So now we have a competency framework here of Knowledge with the reproduce as the basic one, that's the ground level of it, and apply is a high level, and assessment is the highest level of competency in this knowledge framework. But Moodle has defined this differently, because this is the lowest level of competency in the Moodle framework definition, and I have to change then the order here. So this is going to be the highest level of competency in Moodle, so this is going to be edited and change, so we have the opposite order of what I have written here now. So I activate this one and edit it and change these settings to assessment here, because this is the highest level, and say that one, and this has to be edited and recorded as reproduce. That's the basic level of our competency in Moodle definition of the framework. So now we have this basic level here at the bottom, because this is a child competency of the apply competency, which is the parent of this reproduce competency. So this is, and this is the parent, this is the highest level of competency assessment. So now it's the correct order according to the definition given by Moodle in leveling the competencies in the framework. So now we're going back to the site administration and enter the learning template settings here. So now we have to create some learning plan templates, which creates learning plans for the students. So the first learning plan we like to create here, we call on the learning plan to do it easy. No description here, so I leave that out. So this is saved. So now we have created the first learning plan template. So we are going to add some competencies in this learning plan by pressing this button here. Here we have listed all the competencies in the competency framework for knowledge. So here we can choose all those 3 competencies in these frameworks and add those to the learning template. So we do that by pressing the Ctrl key and click on those 3 options here and add all of them to the complete learning template here. So here we can see that all these competencies have been assigned to the learning plans. We like to have the reproduce in the top and assessment in the bottom here to show the student the correct order of introducing these competencies. So he's going to enter reproduce first and assessment lastly. So we like to have it in this order to make sure that the order is properly understood. Now we like to push these templates to the students as learning plans. So here is the link for that. So here is a list of all the learning templates we have created so far. It's only one, but we use that one. Here is the menu. We have to scroll a bit here to see the menu options. So here is the pushing function to push the templates to the students as learning plans. Here we can choose among the students. Only one student are implemented so far, that is Ole, our favorite student. And pushing this button here give Ole his learning plan. If we look into Ole's Moodle site, we can see on his dashboard that he has got his learning plan here. Clicking here, we can have a look into it, and here all the competences are in listed order: reproduce, apply, and assessment. Nothing is achieved yet. There are no ratings here, and no activation either. So that is going to be changed when the teacher creates some activities in the test scores where student can achieve his competency. Now we can create some activities here taking care of the competency settings for the student. So in order to do that, we can turn this editing function on. But before we do that, we have to add competencies to the course in general. So we do that by pressing this button here and add competencies to the course here. So here these competency frameworks appears, which we have defined earlier, and we put all these competencies here into the course, pressing the Ctrl key and clicking those options. Add that to the course here. So here we are, produce, apply and assessment competencies. I think we like to have reproduce first here and assessment to the bottom here. So we have the same order we like the student to see when they enter this procedure here in the course. So now we go to this activity here. This is a topic-based course. So in the first topic we put the first competency activity. We add that by clicking this link here, and then we can choose from these options here a suitable resource for the first competency that is to reproduce. So for that we only choose this page here. I'm not going to pay that much attention in designing these activities now in this presentation, so I only put some basic information in here. The first one is a page only showing some stuff about the ability for the student to reproduce some knowledge. So here the description here I can put reproduce competency, so we can see what's it all about. And here we can put some information the student are supposed to reproduce. I only put some rubber stuff here because, as I said, I'm not paying that much attention in designing this in this case in this demonstration. So now I enter this activity completion here option here, and here it says that the student can mark this activity as completed manually. I mean, we are not going to accept that, because then the student can mark it done even without seeing this text here, and not even reproducing it either. So we have to put in a condition here that the student at least had to see this page before it's completed. So that's implemented there. So competencies here, we choose the first competency, which is reproduce, and when that is done, we put some action here, what's going to happen to this competency when this activity is done, and that is that the competency will be marked completed automatically. So when the student sees this page, we suppose he's able to reproduce the stuff, and then we accept that this competency is in place. So we save this activity here and look into what the students see. So if you enter his Moodle site and update it, you can see that he has access now to the first activity here. We can also go into his dashboard and see that he has got his learning plan here, telling that he has been assigned to those competency demands here: reproduce, apply and assessment. Nothing is rated yet, and nothing is achieved or proficiency either. So that's going to happen now, that he's going to this first activity to take care of the first competency work here. And he do that by clicking this link. It's not marked as done yet, so we enter the activity here, and here is the text I wrote, which I suppose the student is able to reproduce. It could be some hard though, but I don't care. It's not the scope of this presentation to take care of that. So I like to conclude that when the student see this, I define it that he is also able to reproduce it now in this presentation, because now we can go to the dashboard here to his learning plan and see that he has got his competency here in this activity automatically, and he also got his proficiency and settings here. So that is accomplished now. So in order to go to the next competency, the teacher has to create one more activity here in topic 2. That's for the second competency, and he click this link here, and he choose a proper activity for that. So in this presentation, I think I like to use this one, feedback, where the teacher have made some question about the stuff which the students are supposed to answer. So the teachers are making some exercises and other training stuff to test what he's going to apply from his earlier reproduced stuff. So I call this activity now for feedback 1, and that's about apply competency. So I write apply competency here also to have a overlook of what's all about. So here I enter this activity completion again, change this manual mark completion to conditional, and here we have a condition that the student has to see it, and the student has to submit something, his answer to questions made by the teacher. So competencies here is about apply, and now I could here also make automatic completion of competency, but for demonstration purposes I like to use this option, send for review. That means that the student has to send his answer to the teacher for evaluation, and after that the teacher will decide what kind of competency he will get. So he's not getting any competency automatically here. So save this course now, this activity now. So here we are. We have also to go into here and make those questions which is demanded for the teacher to make to the student, which is going to answer. I in this case I only make some silly question because that's beyond the scope of this presentation to have a design work. So I only ask, how are you today? Like that. Call it Q question 1. See that one? So now we have a question. So here we can make a number question to the student in different ways, because there are several options here to make question, or whatever. So you can make some efforts in designing this activity here for getting a response from the student. But I leave it like this now for this presentation. So here we are. Looking into the so here is the activity in place. Looking into the students' Moodle site now, we can update his learning plan to see what's happened here. Nothing has changed so far. The competency is achieved in the first competency here. So now he goes to the course and to this second activity. It's about applying the stuff he has reproduced in this first activity. Not marked as done yet. So now he enter this activity here and enter this question sequences. Here it is, a sequence of questions. Only one is applied in this presentation. How are you today? I'm fine, he say. That's okay. So submit that answer. And now we can continue and look again into his dashboard and learning plan. And now you see that he's waiting for review of this of this answer before he can get any competency settings here. So no setting is done yet. So going to the teacher again and to his dashboard, you can see that he has got a note here about something has happened. He has received a request for reviewing something here. It's apply competency from the student Ole. So he entered this link here to go to this competency breakdown. So here you can start the reviewing process. You do that by pressing this button here, because it can take some time sometimes to finish this review. So the student can update his learning plan and see that his work is now been in review. So you have to wait for the response from the teacher. So going back to the teacher, he had to see it, what's going on here. Here is the evidence of what he has submitted in this activity. So you can enter this link here and see, here is the activity or the feedback. So here is option for showing responses. Enter that one. You can see that he has got this response here, I am fine, and that's he'd like to see, and he thinks that's okay. So he can go back to the overview here, because here we have this action menu, and here is the competency breakdown again, going here. So he's back here again. So now we have been here seeing the activity, the evidence for it. So he can give a rate now. So you can choose that it's competent. But for demonstration purposes, I like to use this one first and ask him to do better. Do better. So he's not competent yet. Giving this rate now, we can see that he's not competent yet here, but he is proficient. So the teacher has given him some credit for that he's clever. He is on his way to be competent. So he got some response of that here. So going to the student now and update his learning plan. You see that he has got this message here. You are not yet competent, the teacher say, but you are proficient, so you are clever in trying to do so. So he gets some, feedback for that. Here, the status is still in review. That's an error. So going back to the teacher, you see there are no options here for finishing the review here, as it should be. The teacher has to go to the dashboard here, for example, and go once more into this link here. So now he is back in the breakdown of the competency, and now this button will appear that he can finish the review like that, because that's the case. The student now can update his learning plan and see that the review is finished, it's done, but he's not yet competent. And that's too bad for the student. He don't like that, so he complain about it. That he can do that by pressing this link here and request a new review. I like you to see into the matter again, he say. So that is paying attention to the teacher's dashboard, because now this request is appearing here. He can press this link here and go back to this breakdown here, and he can start a new review of the work. So doing so, he we can go to the student and update his site here, and there he got his message that now the teacher have a new review of his work. So the teacher now can do a new rating here. This button is now appearing correctly here. This vanish when we get into this evidence link here. So we drop to enter this now and do the rating only. This is the history of the activity, of the rating activity here. So the teacher enter this rating now and choose that he's competent and give a remark about it. Good, he say, and rate it like that. So now this button is still here, so he could finish his review at once now. Going back to the student with an updated site here, you can see he's competent and the status has disappeared. So he is happy about what's going on here in his course so far. Okay, going back to the teacher and his test scores here, he has to create another activity here about the last competency settings. Do that by clicking this link, and then you can choose a proper activity, and now he chooses this assignment activity here. Assignment. One, it's about assessment. It's about assessment competency. So now he can go to this activity completion here also and do the same thing again, put some conditions in, and competencies, it's about assessment. So you see, I only paid attention to the competency feedback here. In practice, the teacher has to go into all these options here to design this activity in proper manner, but I'm not going to do this now because my only intention is to show how the competency is working here. So now what's going to happen here, I have used this and these earlier activities, and now I like to show how this works at 10 attached evidence. So the evidence is his submission for a report file to the teacher of what he has done about the assessment work. So that is going to be saved here. So now we have created this assignment activity about the assessment. So now the teacher, the student, he can enter, update his learning plan again, no changes here. So in a test course, he has access to this third activity here about the assessment competency. Not yet done, so this mark is not yet here, showing that this activity is not completed yet. So we enter this activity now, and here we are going to ship a report file of what he has done about his assessment work for the assessment competency. So here he had to do some judgment or evaluation of what he has done, so he can go further by his own, so he can go further in his knowledge competency work here. So he had to add a submission here. That could be a report file. I only put a fake file here now in order to have something. I'm not going to enter this file and look into this report file. That's not in the scope of this presentation. So I save this, and now this is submitted to the teacher for evaluation. This is the report, the log file for the assessment work he has done. So the teacher now I think we can turn off this editing function here, so it's more cleaner sites. So going to his dashboard, there is no notes or evidence here that the student has shipped anything to the teacher, so no request for reviewing here, and that's not the case in this option for competency feedback. So the teacher has to go into the activity here to see the responses from the student, but there is a link here about the timeline update here, so he could enter this here and go into the activity here and view what kind of submissions he have received. So here it is. Ole has shipped this log file for assessment work here. So now he could do some grading if that's subject of interest, but I'm not going into that here. I only look at the competencies. So in order to rate the competencies, I can go to the activity here, and here's the action menu for the activity, and go to the competency breakdown here. So here is the competency setting for this assessment competency. So here is the evidence for the feedback of the report given from the student. If the student does not get any response from the teacher because he is not aware of what he has shipped and received here, the student can go to his site here and to his dashboard and learning plans. So there are no indication here what's going on of the evaluation work from the teacher. He knows that the teacher has received it because they have shipped the report, but in this option, competence option of this attach evidence option or competency settings in the activity here, there will be no review request. So time can pass without any response from the teacher, so the student can then push this button, this link here, and request a response from the teacher, because this request is not included in the attached evidence options. So he can do it afterwards manually if he is missing the response from the teacher. So now he has a status here that he is waiting for that review. The teacher now are going here and got attention of a response from the student. He requests a review of this report here. So now you can enter this link here and get into this settings, this competency breakdown option here. Start a review. A teacher get a knowledge of that in his learning plan. Here it is. Going back to the teacher, we go on with the evaluation work. You can go into this evidence link here to the assignment activity, view the responses and look into the file. When he's happy about that, he can go here again and here again and here again and here again and do the rating. You see this button for finishing the review is missing now because he has entered this link here. So he could do the rating in a way and choose that, okay, you're competent. Good. like that. So the student now receive his competency, you see, but still it is in review. So in order to reset that, the teacher had to go to his dashboard again, going into here, and now this button appear correctly, so we can finish the review here. So now the student can update his learning plan and see that the status is finished. There are no remarks here. So now he got all his competencies, so now he's very happy about how this course passed by. As these competencies, understand is the basic competency here, and then imitation is the second higher level competency, and develop is the third one in these settings, in this framework here. So here you have to understand first, and then you have to imitate, and then you have to develop by yourself by what you have understood. The attitude competence is very important. You have to be motivated in order to get into any learning process. So here is the Attitude Competency Framework, starting with willingness to receive information from the student in the course. And after receiving it, you have to show that you appreciate what you have received. You're very happy with what you have learned, so you have to show that. And then you have to be willing to integrate what you have learned in your life and in your private and professional life after finishing the course here. So attitude is also a very important competencies in all courseware, in all learning processes. So those three competencies is the basic pedagogical competencies, which are going to can be used in every courseware. In the learning plan templates, we can add additional competencies to the earlier attended competencies. So here we have the three basic competencies from earlier. So here we can choose from another framework and add more competencies in the existing learning plan templates if we like to extend the learning plans with more competencies. But here we also have to create a course or some activities taking care of these competencies in addition to the third earlier activities where competencies are going to be achieved of the students. So that the teacher has to take care of in his learning plans and in his training processes with the students. So going to the student and look into his learning plan, when we here we can see that new competencies are added to the old learning plan. So we had to get some competencies here also by attending to those activity teacher will create for that later. The teacher can also create new learning plans here by pressing this button here, and we can call a new learning plans for a new learning plan for doing it easy, and save that, get some competencies in it. We can choose from the frameworks we have created here, those three frameworks, and add what we like to add in the learning plan templates. Here we are with three competencies. added to the learning plan template. So now these templates can be pushed to the students. Here we see that we have got 3 learning plan templates now, and we could push the second one to the student, to Ole, like this, as earlier I've shown. So now he got the new learning plan also in his Moodle site. So go into his Moodle site and go to his dashboard. Here you see that he has got 2 learning plans for different purposes, for different achievement. So this can be something completely different from the first one. So now he had to complete the both, if you like to complete all the intention the student, the teacher has with him in this Moodle site. It could be a problem that the student enter this activity not in the correct order. The teacher supposed that the student has to enter this activity here first. That's about the basic competency activity, before enter the next one, and then at last enter the third one. But in this design of the test course, the student can enter the third directly without even see these 2 first activity, and that is not what the teacher wants. He wants the student to go through a correct order of doing this. So he likes the student to go into this page 1 activity first, to get this competency first, and then he should go into the next one after that. So we had to change this design of the course, so he could put some restrictions in accessing the third and second and third activity here. So he go to this edit function here and to the restrict access options here. So here you can put a restriction into the enter this activity here. You have to demand that one activity here is done first before you can enter this one, and that is page 1 activity. That has to be completed first before you can enter this one. So now that is defined in this activity here. So now you can see there are a note here about that. You have to do the page 1 activity first before you can enter this one. It's a restrictions added to the activity here. So you have to go in here first, and then you are able to go here. And you have to do the same about the third activity here. You have to go to the restriction option here, access option here, and add an restriction in the same manner. But now you have to demand that you have to finish the feedback activity first before you can enter this one. So that is also made a note of in this activities list in the course. So the student now, Ole has already finished his course, so there are no restrictions of what he has done already. But if we has got a new student here, if we create a new student called Ole, he has just attended the course, and he has not started anything yet of this activity. So here you can see that he has got this restriction. He cannot enter topic 2 and topic 3 at all before he has finished this activity of page 1 in topic 1. So we have to enter this first, and here is the text he is supposed to reproduce. Doing that, he can go to his, now you see this, that the activity is done, and then he is able to enter the second activity here automatically. So doing that, doing some answering here, I put some rubbers on there now for demonstration purposes, and dashboard telling that this learning plan says that the review is in review of the teacher. So Looking into the teacher's Moodle site and his dashboard, you can see that he has got this request for reviewing of this competency. For Doodle, we look into that. So here he got his competency setting. He got the competency setting at once here with the remarks. Good. Submit that. So going back to Ole. He's got his competency here. So going to his activity sites here, you can see he's now able to, topic 2 is done, and he's now able to go into the topic 3 activity here, assignment. So now Dole is doing things in the correct order as teacher like it. So due to the restrictions the teacher has put on this test course.